Hi, my name is Andrea Russman. I have a BA in elementary education through Iowa State University with endorsements in math and reading. I am a master's candidate through Morningside College in the area of special education. My presentation title is called Impact of Growth Mindset on Reading Performance. Poor reading performance is a challenge for many elementary-age children, especially those in special education and Title I intervention programs. According to the National Center for Education Statistics, during the 2009-2010 school year, over 21 million children were assisted by Title I early intervention programs. Of those, approximately 59% were in kindergarten through 5th grade. This study was conducted in an elementary school which served 381 kindergarten through 5th grade students for the 2015-2016 school year. 44% of the student population received Title I interventions for being 1 or more years below grade level in the area of reading fluency. Deficits in reading fluency for these students is problematic as it can contribute to negative behaviors, lack of motivation, lack of engagement, and lack of participation in the classroom. Poor reading fluency can also correlate to poor reading comprehension. These skills are a cornerstone for secondary reading instruction, and poor performance can inhibit future academic progress and post-education success. What can be done to improve this critical skill and give children a better chance at success in life when they demonstrate low reading fluency abilities? Those with a fixed mindset believe intelligence is capability are inherent and unchanging. That is, some people have natural ability and some do not. Those with a growth mindset believe that talents can be learned and improved upon over time. With the right opportunities and instruction, it is possible for an individual's mindset to be different from subject to subject. For example, one can believe that the ability to understand math is predetermined and unable to be improved, but that English skills can be developed with enough practice. The good news for those whose mindsets are fixed in one area or more is that mindsets can be changed. This research study looked at how a teacher's instructional approach affected academic achievement in 2nd grade Title I reading groups. The results of the study were analyzed and compared to show that when a teacher demonstrates, and instructs with a growth mindset approach, students will increase reading fluency performance in the classroom at the higher rate than when instructed with a fixed mindset approach. According to previous research by Carol Dweck, mindset affects the way you learn and think. We also know that an instructor's fundamental approach can make a difference. A teacher with a fixed mindset would determine a set curriculum and stick to that for all Title I students. A teacher with a growth mindset would tailor instruction based on each student's individual needs, which has a greater influence. Will a teacher who develops curriculum based on a fixed mindset or growth mindset result in higher reading performance by students in the classroom? Ricci leads us to believe that a growth mindset for both students and teachers is beneficial for many reasons. In a learning environment, embracing a growth mindset through professional development and putting it into practice teaches both students and teachers that success is possible in whatever they set their mind to. Early intervention that influences a student's mindset is also crucial, as research has shown that mindset becomes more fixed with age. Educators have long tried to figure out what works best in terms of student mindset in the classroom and how instruction can be a positive influence. According to Gutshaw, when students are more engaged in their learning, achievement in the classroom increases. Students and teachers with a growth mindset show a greater level of motivation and participation in the classroom based on the belief that achievement can be attained through effort. It has also been demonstrated that teaching students with specific learning disabilities to have a growth mindset can increase their confidence and willingness to engage in academic activities, therefore improving academic performance. When students hear that they are working hard when they are reading versus keep reading, they naturally become more motivated and empowered to keep reading. There is a shift in their mindset and they put more effort into trying to succeed. Once this happens and they see themselves as readers, they will then want to participate in learning activities and will grow in their reading performance. It was identified that while there is previous research looking at the effect of a teacher's mindset on student performance, there was a lack of data directly related to Title I intervention programs and the specific reading proficiency of reading fluency. This study attempted to fill that gap and provide direction in this area. The purpose of this study was to determine if a curriculum based on a fixed mindset or a growth mindset will result in greater increase in reading performance by students in the Title I classroom. Reading fluency is one of the most important predictors of future academic performance for elementary age children, and an essential skill for students to develop. Determining ways to increase levels of this critical skill, especially for children in special education or intervention programs, is paramount. Understanding what is most effective can help a teacher tailor their instruction to have the maximum impact on increasing performance. Maximizing impact is important in the Title I class due to being an at-risk population and having limited classroom time. The hypothesis of this study is that second grade Title I students displaying reading fluency skills at least one level below grade level, who are instructed by a teacher implementing growth mindset instructional techniques, will show a greater increase in reading fluency performance than Title I students with reading fluency skills at least one level below grade that were not taught by this approach. The independent variable was implementing growth mindset based on instruction. The dependent variable in the study was reading fluency, measured using formative assessment system for teachers, a state-mandated CBMR oral reading fluency assessment. A/B research design was used to gather data for two independent groups over time, following a prolonged period of intervention. There were two student participant sets in this study, a control group and an experimental group, with a total research sample size of 20. All participants were selected based on benchmark reading fluency assessments, which placed them in a Title I program. The control group consisted of 10 second grade students from the 2014-2015 school year, 5 female and 5 male, who were at least one grade level below in reading fluency. 40% of the control group also received English language learning services. The experimental group consisted of 10 second grade students from the 2015-2016 school year, 4 female and 6 male. 50% of the experiment group received English language learning service also. At the beginning of the research period, students were identified as requiring Title I intervention by taking the Placement Formative Assessment System for Teachers, or the PFAS. Students were instructed to read a passage for 1 minute, and fluency scores were based on how many correct words they read in 1 minute. The students needed to meet a benchmark fluency standard, or intervention was required. To assist with tailoring their instruction to align with a growth mindset approach, information was also gathered through weekly progress monitor reading fluency probes. These tests also measured the correct number of words per minute. The specific instructional tools used to increase reading fluency were leveled literacy intervention, LLI materials. The LLI materials consisted of reading books that are used daily, as well as supplementary supplies such as writing exercises, vocabulary lessons, word work, and targeted instruction. During the first half of the study, the students in the control group were taught with a fixed mindset instructional approach. Leveled literacy intervention LLI materials were used throughout the year, starting with level F, and all students progressed to the next level at the same time. All students utilized the same level and type of materials, regardless of different MFAS scores over time. Emphasis was placed on completion of the assignment, and no retakes were allowed on quizzes. Also, students in this group were not explicitly taught mindset theories. During the experimental phase of this study, students were taught using methods and materials based on growth mindset instructional approach. The students in this group used different types of levels of the LLI materials at their own pace, based on individual differences identified through the MFAST assessment. Also differing from the control group, if a student scored poorly on a quiz in the experimental group, there was time given to study the materials and attempt a retake. Emphasis was placed on participation in the classroom exercises and attempting all activities even if completion was not possible. Lastly, the participants in this group were also encouraged to embrace a growth mindset by explicitly explaining this theory using reading fluency skill visuals, differentiated LLI materials, and modeling what a growth mindset is. At the completion of the study, the independent sample PFAST scores taken throughout the year were analyzed to determine what, if any, amount of reading fluency improvement had occurred for each participant over the course of the year. Their fall scores were subtracted from their spring scores to calculate a difference value. A larger difference value correlated to a greater improvement in reading fluency. The difference value for all students within each group were then averaged and determined a mean improvement rate. The independent sample t-test was performed by comparing the mean improvement in scores for a control group to the mean improvement in scores for the experimental group. A higher level of improvement infers a more effective instructional approach. Using an alpha level of 0.05, an independent sample t-test was conducted to evaluate improvement in reading fluency scores for both groups. The test was significant. The experimental group participants who were taught by a teacher with a growth mindset instructional approach had a greater improvement in reading fluency scores with a mean of 47 and a standard deviation of 16.85 over the control group participants who were taught with a fixed mindset instructional approach with a mean of 30.10 and a standard deviation of 18.38. The results of this study supports the hypothesis that second grade Title I students who were educated by a teacher using growth mindset instructional materials and methods exhibited a greater increase in reading fluency performance than Title I students who were instructed by a teacher using fixed mindset instructional techniques. There was a larger improvement in reading fluency scores throughout the year for the experimental group receiving growth mindset instruction during the 2015-2016 school year versus the control group which received a fixed mindset instruction during the 2014-2015 school year. The results of the study were in line with previous research showing that enforcing a growth mindset in a student encourages them to be excited about learning, believe they can improve their skills with hard work regardless of innate talent, and bounce back more successfully from setbacks. Instructing with materials and methods centered on a growth mindset approach and teaching the concept of these strategies directly to the students positively affected reading fluency. When students were praised for their effort, they understood why learning is important and embraced the education process, making them more encouraged and successful in learning. When parents were exposed to and embraced a growth mindset concept, they were able to focus on their child's effort and not just what grade they received. All around, the emphasis being placed on learning the skill being taught and the effort put forth to increase those skills lead to improvement in reading fluency performance in the experimental group. The results also have implications across subjects, showing that when instruction concentrated on the mastery of skills, students made progress and were more willing to participate in classroom activities. This engagement and persistence by students resulted in better educational outcomes in all classes and extended to subjects beyond reading fluency. Despite efforts to control and reduce additional variables that could have influenced the results of the study, there were several limitations that may have affected outcomes. The most significant limitation was the size and narrow span of demographics of the sample population involved. The study was limited to 20 total students, all from the second grade class at the same elementary school. The lack of variance in grade representation, as well as the small number of students sampled, made it harder to generalize the results as being applicable to all elementary students. In addition, the lack of demographic variance made it difficult to generalize the validity for all students globally. To increase the confidence in the results, it would be suggested to use a larger sample size across multiple